So I've slowly been getting more and more into virtual reality. There's a couple more games that I still want to explore with it. We did a battle royale version that I thought was pretty cool in the way, like, you're interacting, do everything with it. There's still a lot of downsides to it, and I don't think it's quite fully there. It's come a long way since I had some of like the Rift, the original Rift, where you had to like put cameras around your room and have it track you and everything. Now you can just put the headset on. You could do it even wirelessly, although I've been plugging it in for it, etc. This was a video that I got sent. Should I have tried this earlier? Bigscreen VR, and it's got 2 million views. So I mean, that's qualifies me to watch it, I guess. Let's see. This is from Optimum. Millie subs as well. I don't know if I've seen this channel before. Bigscreen.
I spent over $7,000 Australian on this triple ultra-wide OLED setup.
Yo, look at that setup. That kicks my setup's ass a little bit. I got one ultra-wide monitor over here. Actually, let me see if I can show you guys it. If I go to my wide cam here, you can just see a bit of it there. I got an ultra-wide monitor with the chair, and then I got a screen on top for my stream, monitoring my stream when I'm live for it and everything. It's not super crazy, but, it's pretty sick. I got to say, it's a pretty nice setup. He's got like a proper F1 wheel on this bad boy too. This looks good. It doesn't look like it has the full hydraulics on it. That's always been very impressive. But dude, look at the room that he's even in. It's just a gigantic, what has he got, a whole warehouse? He could put more in here. Maybe it's a new spot.
Up for my racing sim, and today we're gonna find out if that was all a waste. I've read so much about sim racing in VR that I just have to give this a shot.
I have tried it one time before. When I first set up my sim racing rig, I did plug in my headset for VR, and I did try it, and I was immediately floored, dude. It is so cool. It is unlike anything. It looks like you are adding that setup to your wish list. Ashley, maybe we'll see. Let's see what this thing is. But I'm just giving you some context here because I know a lot of you guys haven't seen me do any of my sim racing or talk about any of this before. Dude, it is like when I first put it on, my wife doesn't game. She's not really into it. There's not a lot that's very interesting to her. And I had to call her in and I said, you have to try this. Because you're sitting in the car and you could move your head, you could look, you could lean out, look around the side of it a little bit. And when you're going, it's like, now she immediately stopped doing it because she gets motion sickness and it didn't really work out for her, but she was pretty impressed and nonetheless. But I was driving around and it felt like I was actually going fast. Like the speed of it on a normal screen, it feels pretty fast, but when you're in VR racing, it felt so much faster. It was so wild. I haven't really tried it again yet, and I haven't figured out how to stream it or anything. It's a lot harder to stream VR games. I have thought about doing some of that. I've mostly just done this off stream. But anyways, let's see what I can. I'm sorry. Let's watch it. Okay.
To get the most immersive driving experience. Well, this is the Bigscreen Beyond. It is one of the more premium VR headsets out there at about $1,000 US, but it is definitely one of the more interesting. I mean, just look at it. That is everything. That is the entire VR headset.
How is it so
there.
small?
I mean, just absolutely tiny. So yeah, Bigscreen saw my initial racing sim video. They saw that, I mentioned that I wanted to try virtual reality. So yeah, it's
got to plug into something else, right?
Have a play and let us know what you think. I also bought the Quest 3 though as a bit of a comparison.
Yeah, that's what I use.
Push the steering wheel back a little bit. But yeah, I'm glad I did. This is about half the price at $500. But man, take a look at this size difference. I mean, it is just a completely different game. I mean, the Quest 3 is by no means
I thought he was going to plug this into something.
Really bulky VR headset, but the Bigscreen Beyond
is
like
very
a quarter
small.
of the weight.
It's got to be a lot lighter,
half
yeah.
the size. I mean, the weight and size difference is just immense. It also comes with a custom 3D printed face cushion. Part of the order process is sending them a face scan, which you can do with an iPhone. And this is the result. It's a soft, plushy material with magnets. It just clips onto the headset, and it is a perfect fit. One of the drawbacks though, this thing being so small, is that there aren't any sensors on the front for head-mounted tracking. So of course you need to track your head in VR. You will need an external source to do that, which is a Steam VR base station. Apparently, a lot of people already have these.
But I guess if you were setting it up, if you were just setting this up for sim racing, though, that would be less annoying because you could kind of keep it set up. But even when I had my old VR thing set up with the cameras, and I didn't move the cameras, I still had to like recalibrate it every time I wanted to do it. It's just like, it's not that big of a deal, but some of that, you know, if you want to play it every day, it kind of gets annoying, you know?
Vive or a Valve Index, for example, you probably have a couple of these
This might
laying
be
around.
better.
Otherwise, you'll need to buy at least one. It also doesn't have any video pass-through like the Quest 3, which is helpful when transitioning between games and desktop use. I found myself removing and putting back on the big screen headset a lot more frequently when setting things up.
Sucks.
But it is less of an issue because the thing is
But
just so small.
Yeah, it's so
after
small
going
and
through
light.
A quick setup
That's
and
a
dialing
benefit.
things in, this was my first impression.
Oh my God. I can see the glare changing in the sun as I like tilt my head. That is insane. I can see the mirrors like super clear. Dude, I can hang my head.
Yeah, see? It's like, it's so trippy,
Dude, this is insane. I feel like I could just sit here.
This
and
doesn't
just
give it
explore
justice.
This cabin, I feel like this is a game in itself. Like this is an entire game right here. I could just swap between all the different cars. Dude, oh my God. My brain is doing this thing where it actually thinks I'm moving. Oh my God.
It feels so much faster when you are in
I
a
could
VR
probably
driving.
hop out of the car if I really wanted to. You know what? Let me see how much movement I actually have here. I can hop out of the car. The only problem is that when I turn the headset away from the base station, it kind of cuts out a little bit. I'm on the track. I gotta be careful not to like trip over anything. This is actually crazy.
Dude, what a setup this guy has.
Like, dude,
look
what?
at this. Does he have
So I
a
spent a
nice
few
ass
days
car
just
next to him?
doing this, catching up on a
go.
bunch of other work on the side, but also just playing a bunch of Assetto Corsa in VR. And yeah, it was an absolute blast. It wasn't until
I haven't tried to set a Corsa, but I know that people put mods on this because I tried to set it up once and I couldn't even figure it out because I was trying to learn how to do some drifting. And it was like some of the mods and videos that I saw for this, you can make it look insanely good. But I think this is a really old game. I think they were coming out with a new one.
I swapped to the Quest 3 though, the strengths and weaknesses of these two headsets became a lot more obvious. The lenses on the Quest 3, for example, are just better. Whereas the Quest has an adjustable IPD, which is basically the distance between your pupils, the Bigscreen has a fixed IPD based on your eye scan, which you provide in your order. Mine seems pretty spot on, you know, it's clear in the center, but for me, I notice a lot more haloing and softness around the edges of those lenses. Once I was truly locked into a game though, I can't say it bothered me that much, but definitely something that I noticed when looking around menus or on a virtual desktop, the lenses on the Quest 3 just feel nicer. The displays though
That's
are
interesting.
wildly different. Of course, the big screen is going to be better at double the cost, but it does
IPS display, 2200. So it's higher resolution per eye, and it's an OLED display for this, although it is at lower hertz, which to me is kind of a big deal. I really like a high frame rate. The 120 FPS on this, I think for the Quest 3 to get 120, at least the only way I've been able to do it is when I plug it into my computer and it's running off of that. But otherwise, I know you can do 90 as well. This does 90 only at 1080, which would be, or 1920, which is still lower than this.
truly feel like I'm playing a different game between these two headsets. The big screen uses 1-inch OLED panels at 2560 by 2560 per eye, and yeah, they're just insane. So much detail, so much contrast. I mean, you saw my first impressions. When you're sitting in the cabin of a high-res car model, you have to stop yourself from like reaching out and pressing buttons because that's how convincing it feels. But before we get sucked into the details too much, let's back up a bit because racing in VR is actually pretty insane. Like, if anyone wants to buy my two other side monitors that I've got sitting over there, let me know because I will no longer be needing them. Like, yeah, racing in VR is that good. Things like turn in and braking points, they just feel so much more real and intuitive.
Look at the cars around you.
That 3D space where you can feel things out just like way more. For example, something that I noticed quite a lot is that if I was trying a new car or a new track and I kind of had to learn the braking points, it was just so much harder on a screen because you're pretty much just relying on 2D like signs and stuff like that. Whereas in that 3D space, in that virtual reality, you can feel those things out way more, and it's like a little bit easier to feel that stuff. Also with VR, you know how like when you're on a roller coaster and you feel that drop in your stomach after like a steep drop or something like that, you kind of get that with virtual reality as well. I felt it many, many times, especially like if I was just hopping onto the rig for the first couple.
You know, the weirdest one for me was when I stopped the car in VR more so, but even in the sim rig, I feel the same way. But I'm always used to, like when you stop the car, you get that final little movement in your body. You're like, you expect it when you're slowing down, and then it doesn't happen. That's like where you kind of, that I felt that at least, so like that weird feeling. But even when you're driving and you're like swinging around a corner, like you're expecting some of the force to be there and you don't get it, your body will kind of like, I think that's part of the motion sickness though that people feel.
Couple of times, yeah, you legitimately get like those drops in your stomach. It sounds completely far-fetched because of course the rig is not moving or accelerating at all, but yeah, elevation changes, tight cornering, your brain just kind of senses that stuff at a different level compared to a single or triple screen setup. It is also just like way more compact. I mean, take a look at that. It looks amazing. I know the triple screens were like super overkill.
This guy's setup, this looks like it's AI. This looks like you told an AI to make this setup, and it's a video of an AI thing right now. This guy's setup is crazy.
Super
like
impressive
too clean.
And everything, but dude, even in this warehouse, they were taking up
Is
so
this
much
AI?
space.
Am I getting
can't even
scammed right
imagine
now?
what a triple screen setup would be like at home. So yeah, triple screens were definitely nice, but I think I like this a lot more, especially with that big screen up front. People can see what your POV is, and then you can do all the actual driving on the headsets. The affordability as well, I just need to keep mentioning it. Like the fact that this is $1,000, compared to what I spent on triple screens, yeah, that is actually like pretty good value. Are there any drawbacks, anything I prefer about triple screens? I mean, I guess you can play for longer without messing
that's
up
what
your
I would
hair
say.
or having red marks on your face from the cushion, or maybe if you're doing like, a 6 to 8 hour driving sesh, monitors.
The other thing that I find annoying is having the cable on your head attached to you when you're actually doing it. Is like sometimes it just gets snagged in or whatever. You got to kind of like tweak it a little bit. I've seen people do setups where like the string comes from the roof or whatever, and that helps. It seems fake. It seems fake because the room's not full of a bunch of boxes and junk that you got to put away and organize.
Would be more comfortable in that regard, and I guess you can share the
This guy's too
experience with
organized.
other people a bit easier too. But at the end of the day, this is a simulator. The point for me is to simulate driving and racing to be as real as possible. I'm not doing massive, like 6 hour plus racing sessions. I'm hopping on this for an hour or two max, and that's pretty much it. And I'm also not going to say that, VR will give you faster lap times or anything like that. Most sim racers that I've seen seem to prefer the simplicity and comfort of a monitor. But as a casual myself who's hopping into this thing like for an hour or two at a time, I'm finding VR significantly more immersive and a lot more fun. Now, $500, we have to talk about the Quest 3 because the value proposition here is actually insane, especially if you want to do like mixed reality stuff or like, play games standalone completely off the headset. This thing has a battery and a built-in GPU, which is kind of nuts. For sim racing and ultra high detailed stuff, yeah, the big screen is a couple steps above because of those OLED displays primarily and the more compact design, but the FOV is actually slightly better on the Quest 3.
Oh, wow.
And you still definitely get a convincing and immersive driving experience.
This is like how much of the peripheral vision that you'll see, and people always, I think more people know FOV now at this point though, right? But back in Warzone 1, man, the arguments people got into over FOV was mind-blowing. And to some extent, rightfully so, but this is one of the limiting factors, and even at 110, it does, like, I would want more. Obviously, I mean, you would want it to just be real life where you're looking around and whatever and everything's high quality. But you will notice the sides, like blinders on. You can only see so far, and then you'll see a little bit of black at the edges. Now, if you're just looking forwards, it's pretty good, but sometimes your eyes do dart around with it to where you will notice it. Or if you're trying to turn your head and then like look that extra bit around the corner, you can't really.
The only thing I didn't really like about the Quest 3 was running it at 120 Hertz, which, sounds a bit weird. Why would running it at the fastest option be kind of the worst? It's because of the compression, not like the big screen VR, which uses a DisplayPort straight from your GPU. The Quest 3 uses a link cable over USB 3.
That's what I've used
that
for
120.
That
has like a 3 gigabits per second limit or something like that, and it's just really not enough for a 120 Hertz output. I found running up to 90 Hertz was pretty much the sweet spot for this thing, but yeah, 120, although the smoothness was extremely impressive.
I didn't try that. I've only tried
not it,
contractors though.
Assetto Corsa.
But if it got better quality, that'd be cool. That's not
super
really
impressive though. I mean,
the other game I play, it's not really like a super high. It's not like super graphics oriented like this. This is like trying to be real life. The other one is kind of there, but it's more gamified in many ways.
This form factor is like what, 5 years ahead of everything else. It is super compact. I mean, how is this a VR headset? It still completely blows my mind. Those OLED displays that are packed in there as well, just super high detailed and very, very impressive. I actually found myself using the lower res 90 Hz mode on this thing for that extra smoothness most of the time, and I still felt like there was enough detail in game. After using this thing for a couple of weeks though, I did notice a couple of drawbacks. Most important probably is the glare that you can see on both lenses. It's like a glary ring on the bottom of both lenses as you're wearing it. Yeah, it sounds extremely weird, like how do you get glare on a VR headset? But it's there. It's like a faint kind of like a white hazy ring on the bottom of both lenses. To be honest, you do kind of forget about it, and like if you're on a racing sim and you're driving on a bright track, it is something that you do definitely forget about. But yeah, if you're looking at menus and kind of, you know, switching between tracks and stuff like that, then yeah, it is something that is pretty annoying and to be honest just shouldn't be there. The plastic on the front as well looks amazing. It has like this kind of smoked semi-transparent look out of the box, but it is also a dust magnet, and when you do give it a wipe with the included microfiber,
You couldn't really let other people use it either if it's fit to your face.
My unit unfortunately looks just painfully scuffed after a couple of weeks. The 3D printed cushion as well does get kind of messy and gross and will need regular cleaning. The FOV is also not amazing on this thing at just 102 degrees, and that seems to be like the main complaint that a lot of people have about the Bigscreen Beyond, especially those looking to get into sim racing. Personally, you know, as someone who has not tried like super wide FOV virtual reality headsets, it's not something that really bothered me, if I'm being honest. You do get like a bit of that like faint black bar kind of in your peripheral vision. It does kind of simulate or feel like you're wearing an actual helmet or an actual pair of goggles. But yeah, there's no way around it. A bigger FOV would be better. Having said all that though, I still think that this is one of the best PC gaming experiences that you can get today. But yeah, VR on the racing sim, I don't think I can go back to a screen setup. Even 45-inch OLEDs completely surrounding me. Yeah, this tiny VR headset completely just blew them out of the park. Even if you have like $500, right? If you've got $500 for a gaming monitor,
for your new warehouse
I struggle
purchase.
to think what gaming monitor could beat a Quest 3 at that same price. I mean, the immersion as well that you can get out of this is pretty phenomenal.
We get a warehouse next, Joe? Is that the move? Hey, well, there it is. If you guys want to check it out, that was a great video. This guy's quality is insane. We'll link it as well as check it out, man. Give it a like on it. This is super cool. It makes me want to go back and do some more VR racing. Maybe I got to go give it another go.